a lucid, intelligent, well thought out objection.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Overruled.
This is the backdrop of the judge denying Attorney Gambini's motion. Attorney Gambini has argued that the state failed to put him on notice of a scientific evidence witness. He argued that he should have been given notice to prepare for cross examination. Of course, you saw where the court overruled it. Let's say the defendant sued the judge for violation of their rights. Will the judge have immunity? And that's what we're going to discuss today. When does a judge lose or have absolute immunity? So let's get started. Judicial immunity is a form of sovereign immunity which protects judges and others employed by the judiciary from liability resulting from their judicial actions. Absolute judicial immunity applies when judges act in their judicial capacity. So let's look at one landmark case, Stump versus Sparkman. In this 1971 case, the mother of a mentally disabled daughter, she was mildly mentally disabled, the mother petitioned the court to sterilize her. The judge, Judge Harold D. Stump, concluded sterilization was in Sparkman's best interest due to her mental capabilities and approved the petition. The operation was performed, although Sparkman was unaware of the true nature of the surgery. 2 years later, after Sparkman married, she discovered that the sterilization explained her inability to become pregnant, and she sued Judge Stump for violating her right to due process under the 14th Amendment. Does Judge Stump have absolute immunity? That's the question. Well, let's see. In a 5-3 majority vote, the United States Supreme Court held that the law vested Judge Stump with the power to entertain and act upon the petition for sterilization, and he is therefore immune from damages liability, even if his approval of the petition was in error. Now, this is what's important. The court held that a judge could only be deprived of immunity when he acted in clear absence of jurisdiction. Sometimes they call it complete absence of jurisdiction. That is when a judge does not have absolute immunity. Let's talk about this a little more. A judge loses absolute immunity for actions through judicial in nature are taken in the complete absence of all jurisdiction. And we're going to look at Harris versus Harvey to demonstrate this, a 1979 case, and also a landmark case. Just in a nutshell, the judge here, he did some other things that the court found were outside his jurisdiction. Let's look at the specifics. Sylvester Harris, a police lieutenant, was attacked in a variety of ways by Judge Richard G. Harvey. Harris sued Judge Harvey because he made comments to the news media. He wrote threatening letters to city and county officials who attempted to defend Harris. And he held parties for ranking state officials during which he attempted to get Harris removed from law office. You got to read this case. It is very interesting. The jury concluded that Judge Harvey was not eligible for judicial immunity for these actions, as such acts which were not part of the judge's normal duties. They were outside his jurisdiction. To determine whether a judge acted in complete absence of all jurisdiction, or, as we said, clear absence of all jurisdiction, one must determine whether the person is acting functionally similarly to a judge. And we're going to demonstrate that through King versus Love. Now, this is a case where Judge Love caused the plaintiff King to be wrongfully arrested. And he did some other things that contributed to his actions, which the court found were in complete absence of jurisdiction. As testified by a police officer, Officer Pittman, on August 19, 1980, Judge Love engaged in the following conduct. Judge Love requested that Officer Pittman execute the Anderson arrest warrant on King, knowing that Anderson was the suspect and not King. Judge Love told Officer Pittman to change the warrant to a no bond warrant. Initially, the warrant had a bond, but the judge said change it to a no bond warrant. And Judge Love told Officer Pittman that King and Anderson were the same person, when in fact Judge Love knew that King and Anderson were not the same person. King contended at trial that Judge Love wanted him arrested in order to pressure him not to testify at the Tennessee Court of the Judiciary hearing scheduled for the next day. And here is what the appellate court held. We hold that although Judge Love performed a judicial act in ordering that there be no bond on the Anderson arrest warrant, he deliberately and misled Officer Pittman about the separate identities of King and Anderson. If Judge Love did so, it was a non-judicial act. And remember, in order for a judge to have immunity, their conduct must be a judicial act. The record contains evidence that Judge Love told Officer Pittman that King and Anderson were the same person in a private conversation occurring well after the Anderson arrest warrant had been issued. Although setting the amount of bond on an arrest warrant is a function normally performed by a judge, the act of deliberately misleading officers who are out to execute a warrant about the identity of the person sought well after the warrant has been issued is not a normal function by a judge. Accordingly, if Officer Pittman's account of his conversations with Judge Love is accurate, then Judge Love is not entitled to absolute judicial immunity in connection with the August 19th, 1980 incident, finding Judge Love acted in the complete absence of jurisdiction. Now, the appellate court did remand this matter back to the trial court, but was clear that if the testimony stands, King could seek punitive damages. I hope this has been helpful to you. As always, I'm Advocate Lucinda, your empowerment lawyer. Be empowered.